Afternoon, time for the midday news here on Newstalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee. Coming up in this newscast, new PNP vote expected in Central St. James following allegations of corruption and vote buying. PNP President Portia Simpson Miller rejects claims that a lack of leadership is to be blamed for the problems plaguing the party. Soldiers said to give evidence about seeing police personnel shooting unarmed civilians in Tivoli Gardens. And Sissoko boss for court today to explain delay in the Don Crary rape charge. Now the news in detail. The People's National Party PNP Secretariat says there could be a new vote in Central St. James if claims of corruption and irregular procedures in yesterday's poll are proven to be true. Member of Parliament Lloyd B. Smith described yesterday's voting process that saw him losing 36 votes to 66 as the preferred candidate for the upcoming general elections as disgraceful. Smith says he will report to the PNP hierarchy that there was vote buying and the presence of unauthorized personnel during yesterday's internal poll. Smith, who admits he could have done more for political development in Central St. James, says he's being opposed because of his stance against handouts and because he's non-partisan in dealing with the affairs of the constituency. Meanwhile, political analyst Kevin O'Brien-Chang says given the current challenges and competition taking place within the People's National Party, it is not a united party.
In the last 2 weeks, I've had 5 challenges to sting MPs in the PNP. Well, we're supposed to have 5. One was postponed just this evening. And another radio station I heard completed the delegates and stuff. Extremely angry. Now, it's hard for me to believe. I mean, this is just what the public knows about too. I'm not an insider. But 5 are blatantly out in the public. Bloomfield was replaced. Buchanan won by 13 votes. Price is being challenged. Damon Crawford being challenged. Lisa Hanna being challenged. So it's hard to believe this is a united party.
O'Brien-Chang says there seems to be some big rifts going on in the governing PNP, and the recent decision for some supporters of Southeast St. Elizabeth to challenge MP Raymond Price is an indication that Price is not certain of winning the seat.
Court injunction, the third time, Mr. Price. Look on that one. Portia's son, as everybody calls him. The third time now this election has been postponed. The delegates were extremely angry a while ago. And there has to be some kind of big rift in the PNP right now. And if Portia had to protect her son, if Price felt he was going to win, he wouldn't be going to the judges to postpone the election. And if Portia's son is in danger of losing so badly, has she lost control of the party?
Comparing the rifts within the opposition JLP to those within the PNP, O'Brien-Chang says he cannot believe such a level of disunity taking place currently in the ruling party.
We hear about the JLP's disunity, and we saw this thing about Andrew Holness last time and all that. But even then, nobody ever came out publicly and said there's disunity. There's whispers or talk, right? Even though it's obvious there's some disunity. This is people openly saying it. These are PNP people openly saying it. And I can't believe that you could have 5. Any disunity, there's great chance of some of these seats being lost. And as I say, it's difficult to believe a party would go into an election with such disunity, obvious disunity going on. So this talk about just around the corner, it's very difficult to believe based on what we're seeing in front of us.
Political analyst Kevin O'Brien-Chang speaking on the evening edition. Speculations are high that Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller could call elections sometime between November and December of this year, or even early February of 2016. And chairman of the National Democratic Movement, the NDM, Michael Williams, is declaring that the PNP will call elections between October and November this year. However, he points to 2 main areas that the government has to address before the election call can be made.
There are 2 scenarios that are preventing the government from calling an early election. I believe that they need to settle with the police and they need to break the drought. Now, if all of those things happen after the conference, their conference that comes up next week, the 18th, 19th, and 20th, they'll call the election in October. If not, they'll wait till December.
Williams says the PNP will get a much-needed boost from its upcoming annual conference, which comes before the scheduled JLP conference.
My reasoning is they will get a bounce from their conference. For the first time in 8 years, they're having a 3-day conference. That is significant to me. And all the groundwork, you heard what Mr. Pickersgill, he knows what the Prime Minister is going to say 2 weeks before. They are priming her to say all the right things at the conference. Call a major meeting after the conference to prevent the JLP from getting a bounce in November. So if that happens, I look for an October election, before the JLP conference, October or early November, for the JLP conference.
Chairman of the NDM, Michael Williams. Our news centre has learned that Mayor of Black River and Chairman of the St. Elizabeth Parish Council, Everton Fisher, is tipped to become the PNP standard bearer for the St. Elizabeth Northeastern constituency in the next parliamentary election. The next election is due by December 2016, but is widely speculated it will be held earlier. This follows the challenge to incumbent Member of Parliament Raymond Price's leadership of the constituency, brought on by Santa Cruz businessman Evan Redmond. According to reports, the challenge has bitterly divided delegates and constituents. It's also reported that the injunction secured by former Mayor of Black River Daphne Holmes, barring the party from holding a conference to select a candidate in the constituency, also upset the party's leadership. It is further reported that with a hearing in the Supreme Court set for this week, Fisher was decided on as a compromise candidate because both Price and Redmond had become unviable due to mounting tension in the PNP constituency and the challenge in court. And PNP President Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has rejected claims that a lack of leadership on her part is to be blamed for the problems now plaguing the party. Addressing the annual conference of her Southwest St. Andrew constituency yesterday, Simpson Miller referred to a story in a local newspaper where some political analysts claimed a leadership vacuum in the party was the reason for the increasingly bitter contests for the right to represent the PNP in some seats in the next elections. Simpson Miller dismissed the views of these analysts, saying who said that she was missing in action. She said that she is the party's leader and she doesn't have any problems in her party because she leads from in front. According to Simpson Miller, anyone who thinks she's missing in action needs to have their heads examined. The PNP has postponed the selection contest in at least 3 constituencies where sitting members of parliament are being challenged because of issues including disputes over the voters list, a court challenge, and in some constituencies disruptive street protests. You're listening to the news on Newstalk 93 FM. It's 8.5 minutes after 12. The soldiers who are to give evidence about seeing police personnel shooting unarmed civilians during the 2010 operation in Tivoli Gardens will not be testifying today as previously scheduled. It was initially expected that the army men would testify today and tomorrow. However, reports are that the testimonies will be pushed back to Wednesday to put in place the necessary systems to protect their identities. The soldiers are expected to testify from an undisclosed location and their voices will be distorted. An audio link is to be provided to the Jamaica Conference Center where the inquiry is being held. The soldiers who are to give evidence from an undisclosed location are expected to say that they witnessed at least 8 policemen killing unarmed civilians during the operation in May 2010. The inquiry, being held at the Jamaica Conference Center in downtown Kingston, is looking into the circumstances surrounding the death of more than 70 people during that police military operation. The Trelawney Police have listed 20-year-old Valentino Pinto, otherwise called Val of Salt Marsh District, as a person of interest. Head of the Trelawney Police, Superintendent Clive Blair, says Pinto is being sought in connection with several murders committed in the parish. Pinto is said to be the leader of a gang operating in the Salt Marsh community and has been linked to at least 7 murders in that area in recent months. The most recent killing was that of a woman from the community last weekend. The Trelawney Police say Pinto is considered to be armed and dangerous. Head of the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, CISOCA, Enid Ross Stewart, is to appear in court today to explain why it took more than a year after a report was made against former politician Don Creary for him to be charged with rape. On Friday, resident magistrate Simone Wolf-Rees made the order after hearing that in 2013, Creary and his co-accused, 22-year-old Shaniki Williams, took a 15-year-old female complainant to an apartment in St. Mary, where she was allegedly given alcoholic beverages and sexually assaulted. Meanwhile, the magistrate is to hand down her decision today on whether the 48-year-old former JLP councillor and his co-accused will be granted bail. Creary and Williams have been in jail since last week Wednesday, when they were arrested and charged. Creary is charged with rape, while Williams is charged with aiding and abetting and sexual touching. 16 Jamaican women were among 24 persons arrested on the weekend during anti-crime operations in Nassau, Bahamas. They were arrested at 2 nightclubs on Saturday. Police suspect the women were involved in prostitution. They were taken into custody for solicitation and breaches of the Immigration Act. Police also confiscated a large amount of cash from the women, believed to be the proceeds of their crime. The owners of both clubs were also arrested for breaches of the Business License Act and solicitation for prostitution. The police in Antigua and Barbuda are considering laying charges against the 4 Jamaican nationals in their custody who were detained in connection with the 2,600 pounds of cannabis confiscated in last week's drug find. The police say the 3 men and a woman were still being interrogated about the drugs that carries an estimated street value of $10.4 million. The prohibited substance was discovered when lawmen executed a search warrant on Friday night at a house in Hodges Bay. Charges could include drug trafficking, possession of and intent to transfer the illegal substance, among other charges. According to the police, this is the largest ganja find in Antigua so far this year. The Turks and Caicos cabinet has agreed to give a donation of $100,000 in relief to Dominica. The money will come from the country's contingency fund. The decision was made last week during a cabinet meeting and follows the devastation caused by Tropical Storm Erika. And Grenada is to host a major fundraising concert for Dominica, which has been ravaged by the passage of Tropical Storm Erika. The concert is expected to be held on Saturday, November 7, and some 5,000 people are expected to attend. The aid comes more than 2 weeks after Tropical Storm Erika rampaged the island, killing more than 30 people and causing widespread destruction. Meanwhile, the government of Dominica says as many as 21 schools throughout the island will remain closed, even after it had indicated that the new school term would begin this morning. The Ministry of Education, in a statement, says it had conducted an assessment of the 75 schools on the island, and based on that assessment, the physical structures of several schools have been affected in one way or the other. In news further afield, more EU countries have said they are imposing border controls to deal with an influx of migrants. Austria, Slovakia, and the Netherlands said they would tighten controls hours after Germany imposed checks on its border with Austria. It comes as EU interior ministers hold talks in Brussels on the crisis. Hungary also completed its fence along the border with Serbia this morning and blocked a railway line used as the main crossing point by migrants. EU states are struggling to cope with a record influx of migrants, many aiming for Germany. The new border checks are a challenge to the EU's Schengen Agreement on free movement. EU ministers are also due to vote on a plan from May to redistribute an initial 40,000 asylum seekers from Syria and Eritrea through mandatory quotas, though Central and East European states have opposed this. And finally in the news, a United Arab Emirates UAE woman is suing the Kenyan authorities, saying she was kidnapped by police, taken to Somalia and Ethiopia, and tortured. The woman says she was seized by Kenyan Special Police and accused of being an Al-Qaeda agent while on a trip to Kenya in 2007. She was reportedly released without charge after being detained for 72 days and was given no reason for her detention. The head of Kenya's anti-terrorism police unit denies the allegations. And now for a look at the weather. There's a tropical wave moving across Jamaica. This tropical wave should move west of the island by tonight. For the rest of this afternoon, it will be mostly cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms, mostly across parishes, mainly during the later afternoon. Tonight it will be partly cloudy. To end the news, the main points. New vote expected in central St. James following allegations of corruption and vote buying. PNP President Portia Simpson rejects claims that a lack of leadership on her part is to be blamed for the problems plaguing the party. Soldiers set to give evidence about seeing police personnel shooting unarmed civilians in Tivoli, postponed until Wednesday. And Sissoko boss for court today to explain the delay in bringing charges against Don Creary. That's the Midday News right here on Newstalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee. Stand by for the news in the Jamaican language.
Good afternoon. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and these are the news in the Jamaican language. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) said Jamaica account deficit over the next 2 years are going to be 3 to 4% of the gross domestic product. The current account deficit shows the difference between how much money one country make and how much money the country spend. As according to Bert Van Selm, where I chat for the IMF in Jamaica, this is one good thing for the country. Him say what the deficit they know are one good thing for Jamaica. Him say the difference in the deficit, if the difference in the deficit too big, then the country are going to have more money, and that no good. 16 women from Jamaica get locked up in Nassau, Bahamas over the weekend in our anti-crime operation. Them get locked up in 2 clubs at the gun. The police them think the woman them been sell them body. Them lock them up and charge them for sell them body and cause them broke the law work against the Immigration Act. The police them take enough money from the woman them too. The 2 people them who own the nightclub get locked up and charged cause them go against Business License Act and solicitation for prostitution. Stewart, where the head of the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offense and Child Abuse, have got to tell the court today why it take over a year after the report make for them lock up and charge Dan Curry for rape. Friday gone, Simone Woolsteele, where the judge, Sir Ross Stewart, must come to court come tell them why it takes so long. Today, the judge are going to decide if Curry and Shanique Williams must get bail. The 2 of them in a jail from last week Wednesday. Police charge Curry for rape and charge Williams because she been dead when it a gone and because she feel up the girl. News from the rest of the Caribbean. America President Barack Obama take Cuba off of the Trading with the Enemy Act so that the 2 countries them can continue work together. This come after the 2 countries them start work together last December. According to the report, the U.S. administration are going to ease up on the travel and business relationship with Cuba, and them are going to make some changes with the Department of Treasury and Federal Aviation for do this. News from foreign. Australia have a new Prime Minister after Tony Abbott lose to Malcolm Turnbull in our internal party election. In the leadership vote, Abbott get 44 votes and Turnbull get 54. Turnbull said he may go do the full term and him now call no quick election. He may go be Australia's 4th Prime Minister since 2013. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the news in the Jamaican language. Wait upon the weather. Now for the weather. One tropical wave a move across Jamaica. The tropical wave a go move across the west of the island tonight. Now for Jamaica all day weather. This afternoon, the place are going to have enough cloud and enough to look out for enough rain and thunderstorm over most of the parish them. Tonight, I going to have enough cloud. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the weather in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newstalk 93 FM just get the news in the Jamaican language.
The Midday Sports Report is brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
Good afternoon. With your midday sports report here on Newstalk 93 FM, I am Mikhail Drama Johns, and we begin with track and field. Elaine Thompson and Rasheen McDonald competed yesterday and were winners at the 45th staging of the Rieti meeting, a World Challenge meeting which was held in Italy. Elaine Thompson ran in the 200 meters, where she is the silver medalist for the recently held World Championships, while McDonald ran in the rarely run 300 meters. Thompson clocked 22.59 seconds to beat Natalia Strova of Ukraine, who ran 23.40 seconds for second, and Russia's Ksenia Ryshova 23.54 seconds for third, as she joined an impressive list of Jamaicans who have won at the late season meet. Meanwhile, McDonald, who was a semi-finalist in the 400 meters at the World Champs in Beijing, won the 300 meters in a personal best 31.94 seconds, just off the meet record of 31.93 seconds set last year by Poland's Karol Zalewski. Jamaicans occupied the second through fourth places in the men's 100 meters. Meanwhile, with Nestor Carter the best finisher in second place with 10.06 seconds. Julian Fort was third in 10.09 seconds, while 200 meter specialist Rashid Dwyer ran a personal best 10.16 seconds for fourth. The event went to Qatar's Femi Ogonode in a time of 9.93 seconds. Moving on to football, St. Elizabeth Technical High School Stats made a stuttering start to their Issa Flo de Costa Cup campaign, drawing 1-1 with Magotty High at their Santa Cruz base on Saturday. However, coach Amar Wedderburn says the stalemate might turn out to be a good outcome. The result means Stats, last season's runner-up and the reigning Ben Francis Cup champions, trailed early leaders Lacovia High 3 points. Lacovia High, who are on 3 points by 2 in Zone E, while sharing a joint apiece with Magotty, Monroe College and BB Cook. Meanwhile, former champions Cornwall College beat Irwin High 4-1 in their opening match at the Montego Bay Sports Complex on Saturday, the third game of the official opening of the 2015 schools football season. Jardine Fletcher picked up where he left off last year, as he scored a hat-trick in the first 25 minutes for Cornwall College to lead 5-1 at the halftime break, as Irwin finished the game with 10 players after goalkeeper Roshan Waite was given a red card in the 39th minute. The win extended Cornwall College's streak in Zone A to play 9 games and was their biggest opening game in more than a decade. In the earlier games, Calabar High came from behind twice to earn a 2-2 draw against defending Manning Cup champions Jamaica College, while the Costa Cup champions Clarendon College beat Edwin Allen 6-1 in a Zone H game. Joel Sterling scored a hat-trick for Clarendon College, while Sigel Knight got 2 more. 2 games will be played this afternoon as the competition continues. Champions in 2008, St. James High, will play Anchovy High Jarrett Park, while Islington and Otter Bay will meet in Zone J game that was postponed from Saturday due to a shortage of referees. And further afield, Ryan Mason's late strike earned Tottenham a victory at Sunderland and the club's first league win of the season. Having failed to muster an effort on target in the first half, Spurs broke the deadlock when Mason dinged his shot past the on-rushing Costel Pantaleon, injuring himself while doing so. And in other games, Manchester City striker Meanwhile, Manchester City striker Sergio Aguero will miss tomorrow's Champions League opener against Juventus at Etihad Stadium due to a knee injury. 27-year-old Aguero was injured in a tackle by Scott Dan during City's 1-0 win at Crystal Palace on Saturday. And unbeaten Leicester City produced a thrilling second-half comeback to recover from 2-0 to beat Aston Villa 3-2 and move second in the tables. Jack Grealish curled in a deserved opener from 20 yards, his first goal for a dominant Villa early on, and Carles Gale swept in a second. Richie Deliotte volleyed the host a lifeline, and Jamie Vardy prodded Leicester level. Nathan Dyer scored the winner with a brave late header on his debut. The winger had only started from Swansea on loan on deadline day, but made himself an instant hero and left Villa with just 1 win from 5 matches. And now to take a quick look at cricket. Captain Paul Palmer's unbeaten half-century guided University of the West Indies UAE to victory over Zone C opponents Jamaica Defence Force JDF at Upper Camp in yesterday's round 2 action of the Jamaica Cricket Association JCA 50-over championship. On a rain-affected day of cricket, JDF made 177 all out in 36 overs and 5 balls after the number of overs they were set to face was reduced to 39 due to the time lost. Set 189 runs to get from 39 overs after the Duckworth and Lewis method was used to adjust the target. Palmer anchored the innings with a composed 71 not out. The left-hander, a former Jamaica youth captain, hit 5 fours and a 6 as UAE won by 8 wickets via the DNL method. And the scores were JDF 177 from 36.5 overs and UAE 191 for 2 after 34.4 overs. And further afield, Australia and England's 5th test saw Australia winning by 8 wickets with 154 balls remaining. And that means the series went to Australia 4-1. And that's it for the Midday Sports Report here on Newstalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama Johns, wishing you a good afternoon.